Hi, this is Kerry Artak with Wicked Stocks, bringing you your weekly Bitcoin analysis for the week of Monday, December 1st, 2025. This is big picture analysis throughout the entire video, but this is ultra long term. This is broad brushstroke. 86,379 is meaningful support. After closing above it a year ago, we did break back and retest it. And this is basically February through April of this year earlier. But we'd never closed back below it. And when we did close above it, our next big picture objective was 122,433, which we certainly tested a lot of beginning in July and really ending in October. And then since the October high, we've obviously collapsed back to this long-term support. We did, bear with me, no, we did not close with CCC. Yes, I guess we did close below it. I don't know if this is by 1% margin, but it's not important because at the time, and I still have, this rising channel bottom as backup support. This is sort of the backstop against 86,379. 82,044 rising weekly. This is a 2-year channel bottom that we tested 3 weeks ago and have since come off of slightly, modestly. We're still above it. Holding above 82,044 will keep 122,433 in reach. The timing of this, can we get a V-shaped rally out of here over the next couple of months? Possible. We could also go into a consolidator framework before turning higher as we move into later Q1. On the way up, there are these meaningful resistance levels that still are in effect. An upside 3/8 Fibonacci, an upside 50% Fibonacci. We've got the low of the high. These are all very tradable levels. Do any of them have real strong pivot point qualities? Not especially. I think 103,415 does more than, say, the 3/8 because it correlates pretty well with this low here that was put out in October and it held for about 4 weeks before we broke it about a month ago. But really what I think is kind of the shift to the upside, our buy signal as we move through December really comes into play with and I'm going to break this down on the weekly chart. I'm opening up the very same chart. We have, following this all-time high, 2 meaningful lows, one that was put out 3 weeks ago. You've got a channel that you can create based on these lows. 93,678 is the channel all week long. You also have the high of the low, 95,945. I think if we can close above both of these this week, we've got a good low for December, and we should then continue higher to these price points that I mentioned a moment ago, 98,019. That actually could be on an intra-week basis above 95,945. I suppose what I would say is if we were to close above that 95,945, 103,415 likely within a week or two.
If you're finding value in this analysis, it's only a glimpse of what we offer. Your real trading edge starts at wickedstocks.com. Each week, premium members receive 2 high-probability stock picks. Each one comes with a complete trade plan, including exact entry, profit target, stop loss, and regular updates so you can manage the trade with confidence. You'll also get daily video analysis in the top traded markets, the SPY, the Triple Q, and NVIDIA, highlighting the key price levels, trends, and trade setups we're focused on. Whether you're day trading or swing trading, these insights help you zero in on the highest quality opportunities with clarity. Try it all free for 5 days. Cancel at any time.
I see, a settlement, for instance, above the high of the low because of its correlation, by the way, with the descending channel top at 93,678. I think if we close above here, we can push on into the 120s, perhaps, within a couple of months. This could be the V-shaped rally we're talking about. Let's put it this way. If you haven't been bottom picking Bitcoin over the last few weeks, especially as we test this 2-year channel bottom, if you're reluctant to stick your neck out and buy it on weakness, our next buy signal on strength would be a settlement above 93,678. Combine that with 95,945, and I think you got a pretty solid buy signal as we continue into the first quarter. On the daily chart, for those of you who just like the numbers on a day-by-day basis, you'd like to trade this near term, just know that on Monday it starts at 94,597, and on Friday it ends at 90,921. And this is, you can actually subtract these out, divide by 5, and you can see exactly where they'll be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then, of course, on Friday. If you want to finesse this, closing above this daily channel top, the same exact structure that we have in the weekly chart all week long at 93,068, or you can just keep it simple and watch these two levels. Until then, if we can't get up and over this, we are likely to fall back to our channel support. I do want to mention that this channel, this 2-year channel bottom, is significant enough for you to consider this to be a good low through the first quarter and into later 26. From here, we can rotate up again to the channel top that is presently 133, 116, and climbing into the, by July of next year, it's at 150. And that's probably a relatively realistic timing, 6 or 8 months from now. So we could be in the 140s, 150s by then. So in other words, holding above the low 80s support will keep the 140s, 150s in reach by some point in 26. So I think I've covered the upside pretty well. Let's cover the downside. I don't see it this week, but if we did close below 82,044, this is more of an intra-week target. I could see testing 77,352 within 3 to 5 days of closing below 82,044. But really, a settlement below 82,044, I think, has bigger implications, more significantly bearish implications than just 77,352, but rather the mid-50s. So this is a long-term channel structure that goes back to the earlier days of Bitcoin. This high here is 2017. You've got a trend line across these highs. You've got a channel bottom based on those highs. And so bottom line, closing below 82,044 at the end of this week, which is not likely, would nonetheless, this could be a 2-month collapse. 2 to 3 months, I think, is a realistic outcome for testing 55,552. This is a almost decade-long channel bottom, and I'm going to call this the long-term support for Bitcoin. This may hold through the rest of the decade, and we can round up from here. And if we close below 55,000, roughly, this formation, I think you can kiss a Bitcoin goodbye as a speculative entity as we move into the later decade. It's just kind of the way it looks to me. Technically, continued price erosion into nothingness, really. But until then, a solid buy opportunity, 82,044. I don't know if you can see the possibility of a head and shoulders formation here. We'll be watching those. What I like to do in these situations is, there's a kind of like, I like the channel structures, the trend lines. There's a shoulder perhaps. Here's the head. But anyway, it is the shoulder if we took it out, and we can just go with the very simple approach, which is if we take this shoulder out at 109,293, we have a buy signal. But I don't want to confuse the issue. I've already covered our resistance, really, and what I'm going to do is, just so I don't blur that all that much, is I'm going to go back to this chart here. This is our near to midterm resistance. These areas in reach, I'm going to actually erase this 3/8 because of the high of the low factor I have already outlined as our near-term upward pivot point, closing above 95,945. This 103,415 likely within 1 to 3 weeks, 113,105 within possibly 3 to 5 weeks, 2 months at the most. Closing above this 95,945 is once again also closing above this descending channel top at 93,678. And in terms of the big picture, once again, we've got this long-term wave count. This area, I think, a realistic, perhaps 3 to 5 month target above the low 80s. And over time, once again, that 133 and climbing in reach later 26. I think I've said it all. I just hit 8 minutes. I'm going to leave it at that for this week's Bitcoin analysis. You have a great week.